Greetings and bienvenue, MITZU. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
This is a simulation. People are outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Almost everyone here is some repeat of the dead. NPCs are one way to view what's up. Another way is when the dead rise in Ghostbusters and ghosts are jogging with the living. Do they like being here? They will stick with the script. You have no idea what your fellow man or woman feels. Far above and beyond the philosopher's question of, is red the same color to everyone? You don't get fucked with by Agent Smith picking up cars, you get fucked with by one. Weird news events designed to trip you up too. Large groups of people doing off events 3. People subtly breaking the laws of biology and 4. A pissed off enough psychic or a demon throttles you and makes you fuck yourself over like Majora's Mask. 1. Rock concerts going up to 155 decibels with hundreds of people in the vicinity of that noise. That is louder than a jet engine, and no form of music can be enjoyable. But there they are, jamming to it. 2. Electrolytes. I used to be a firefighter, and for some strange reason, very few of my coworkers gave a shit about this when sweating out literal gallons a day. I think I know why now. 3. Sleep times. In the wild, without physically working for several hours and the sunlight timing your sleep schedule, natural man becomes an insomniac wreck. You're surrounded by people on a literal sleeping schedule. Your main hope of not being a sleep-deprived wreck is going back to nature. You are not surrounded by people in the first place. 4. Irony. Reality itself is filled with people angry they experience nothing, and thus attempt to passive-aggressively fuck you over. Catch a group of children and parents doing hive mind behavior and lose your mind. What other subtle glitches are there?
The first and last time I've experienced something was in 2017. Greentexting it for more clarity. Be me. Go past the summer of 2017 at my aunt's place. She lives in a village located at a mountain. The place, of course, is filled with forests and trees. So one day I was strolling in the forest and I glanced something strange. A half-tree, but with the bottom missing. Literally no bottom trunk that connects it with the ground. I was dumbfounded. I even slid my hand left and right under it, trying to prove I wasn't hallucinating. There was literally nothing there, only a floating upper tree. I take out my phone, take a ton of photos of that phenomenon, get the fuck out, and run for my aunt's home to tell her what I have seen. I arrived home, find my aunt, tell her I have something crazy to show her, grab my phone, open the gallery. All recent photos were pitch white on their thumbnails. Try to open them. Only white pixel photos. Close the gallery app and then reopen it. All those photos now showed a corrupted file message. Tried even transferring to a PC. The PC wouldn't recognize them, even though it did recognize any other photo that I had or that I took, trying to figure out what was happening.
You're living in virtual reality. Hey you. Your life is not real. It's not something I can prove to you conclusively in an objective way, since everything you take in with your senses is internal to this reality. But I intend to set you on the right path to understand this. I'm going to give you the reasons why you should doubt your current reality, and some information for further research. First off, there is the simulation argument. This was an argument originally made by physicist, philosopher, and professor Nick Bostrom. I won't give you his argument exactly, but a modified version of it. Look him up if you want the original. But essentially, it can be viewed as this. 1. Intelligent life, such as humans, will increase in technology to the point where we can make realistic simulations, basically virtual realities. This assumption seems obvious, given that we are getting better at this all the time. Computer technology and display technology is ever increasing. Your experience is just signals sent to your brain. It seems reasonable that with advanced enough technology, you could feel like you're in the real world while experiencing a video game or something like it. 2. When we get the technology to create virtual realities, we will want to do so. This assumption also seems obvious, since we all love video games and constantly use educational software. 3. We will have reasons to create more than one simulation. This also seems obvious, since we have thousands of different video games, weather prediction software, physics simulations, etc. already. And we have millions of different copies of these running right now. It is no stretch of the imagination to see why we will have millions of virtual realities when our technology has reached that point effectively. What is the conclusion to draw from these assumptions? One day, there will be millions of virtual realities and only one objective reality. Since you have no way to tell which one you're in while you're in it, you are statistically very unlikely to be in the 1 in a million real world. It is almost a statistical guarantee that you are in a virtual world. Maybe one day OP, but we don't have that technology yet. We already try to do historical reconstruction. We already do computer simulations of past weather and geological events, as well as astronomical events. We are interested in simulating the past. Bostrom refers to ancestor simulations, essentially humans recreating their past in virtual simulations for a number of reasons. There will be more simulations of this now. There will be actual nows. This time, 2015, right now, if you are experiencing it, you are still more likely to be in a simulation than in the objectively real world. And that's just assuming that humans are real, and this time really happened. Perhaps this is an entertainment simulation, a program representing a reality that never really happened. Then it doesn't matter what our technology looks like. You have no way to know for sure right now. But I would know if I were in a simulation. I'd still have memories of the real world before the simulation and of starting this simulation. Would you? When you dream every night, do you always remember your waking life and having gone to sleep? Can you always tell you're in a dream, even when the dream gets ridiculous? And do you remember how you started experiencing this reality? Do you remember starting this game or being born? Or do your memories merely start at some point in middle childhood, already playing this reality? It can't be proven conclusively that you are in a simulation, because any proof that you get would be internal to the simulation. That is, any evidence you get shown in a video game is just computer data in the video game and not real. However, there are some signs you can look at to start the thought process on this. You don't know how this is being simulated on computers in the real world. You don't know what the programming must look like. You don't know how the computer hardware works. You don't yet know for what purpose this simulation is being run. You don't know if your concept of anything is 100% true out in the real world. But you do know what a simulation is, and so you should be able to draw some parallels between what is happening in this reality and what you'd expect from a virtual reality. Do you know anything about quantum physics? If not, you should go look it up. It's fascinating. The problem with quantum physics is that we know it works. Every experiment is successful, but it doesn't seem to make any sense. The field of quantum physics started with the double-slit experiment. Start your research there. It's impossibly confusing and interesting for most physicists. I won't go over all the details of this experiment. You will find it very well explained all over the internet. But essentially, what they found is this. Matter doesn't seem to exist as matter until someone observes it. Electrons, photons, and with later experiments we found this to be true with atoms and molecules, seem to exist as nothing but probability waves, almost like information, until we observe it and suddenly it is matter. It's called wave-particle duality. Please look it up if you don't know about it. If you've never heard of this, it will sound like I'm making it up. But you've heard of Schrödinger's cat, right? If so, that was just an analogy for this concept. The state of matter literally cannot be known before it is observed, because it functions like it doesn't exist as anything more than information until it is observed. Something like this happens every time you play a video game. If your PC had to load an entire game in order to play it, we'd have very small games. The trick to make the most of the hardware is to keep the whole game as data on your hard drive, disk, or whatever. Load the data that you have immediate access to, and only render what is being displayed on the screen. That boss, your character, the castle you're in. It only exists as you see it when you look at it. You turn around, it's no longer on the screen, and then it's just data. Turn back around, and there it is again, acting as though it had been there the whole time. Same thing in this universe. Did you know there is a speed limit to how fast anything can move on your computer screen? Sure, something can be rendered on one side, and then immediately rendered on the other side of the screen. But I'm talking about when an image actually moves across the whole screen. There is an easy way to figure out the speed limit on your screen. Speed equals distance or time, like how car speed is measured in miles per hour. To find the fastest anything that can move on your screen, you must take the smallest distance possible, 1 pixel, and divide it by the smallest amount of time that anything on the screen can change, the refresh rate on your monitor. Then you get the fastest anything that can move. But the universe doesn't work like that, right? Because it's all analog. There aren't pixels or refresh rates. Well, another oddity of physics seems to be showing that the world we see is very much like a computer display. There is a smallest measurable physical distance in the universe. It is called the Planck length. We can imagine a smaller size, but anything smaller cannot contain mass or energy as we know it, and simply cannot be measured by any practical method we can imagine in the physics we understand. There is also the smallest speed possible for us to measure. It is called the Planck time. Again, we can write a number for a smaller time, but the math for any time smaller than this stops making sense, and the physics gets contradictory and nonsensical when we try to calculate anything like that. It is just impossible for us, as we understand physics, to measure any time smaller than this. If you divide the Planck length by the Planck time, you get the speed of light. The speed of light, which Einstein's relativity tells us, is the maximum speed limit of the universe. Space and time are quantized, much like a computer screen. Please go look up Professor James Gates, as this will sound very questionable. He is a physicist who works with superstring theory, basically a theory that is currently untestable, but mathematically accounts for all of the laws of physics in the universe that we know of. This is important, because the standard model of physics doesn't mathematically account for everything. For example, Einstein's relativity and quantum physics, both very successfully tested theories, describe gravity as something completely different. Superstring theory is the hope for a lot of people to get a unified theory of everything in the physical universe. But, since we don't have the technology to test it yet, one thing physicists are doing is trying to run computer simulations based on the laws of physics, according to superstring theory, and testing to see if they actually lead to a universe like our own. This is something Professor Gates was involved in. When modeling the laws of physics in a computer according to superstring theory, he and his team found something very strange. The laws of nature, when described in binary, contain known computer code. The strings of zeros and ones that describe the laws of physics that our world operates on contain the exact same strings of zeros and ones as things like checksum programs, data we understand and use in the working of software. Checksum programs are not the only computer code he found in there, and the binary code for these are long enough that it is mathematically extremely unlikely for these to be coincidence. You live in a simulation. All of the things internal to this simulation that you get so concerned with, money, sex, entertainment, food, being comfortable, being scared, etc., etc., etc. They're not real. They're not real. Your life's not real. Hell, even the people around you Are they real intelligences also experiencing the virtual reality? Or are they simulated as well? There's no way to know until you know the purpose of the simulation. And why should you concern yourself with the purpose of the simulation? Well, let me put it this way. Some of you likely already have contemplated the idea that you don't know if you're dreaming or not, that you cannot ascertain the reality of this experience, so there's no point in worrying about it. You're experiencing it like it's real, so you might as well just enjoy the experience, right? Well, there's a difference between a dream and a simulation. Atheists who do not see a God necessitated by nature often say that we make our own purpose for life, and people who accept that this might be a dream often say we make our own meaning for life. But a simulation implies a simulator existing in the world outside of our programmed laws of nature, and a programmer implies a great likelihood of an intentional design. You are here for a reason, not just to enjoy life, not just to play out your life by the mandates of the laws of nature. This simulation was intentionally designed, and you are experiencing it for a reason. What reason? I've said many things here that sound ridiculous, that I've asked you to go research yourself. The scientific findings that support the simulation argument, those can all be found easily on the internet. There are plenty of papers and lectures and videos and so on that address them. Again, I am going to ask you to hear me out on something that will require you to do research for yourself, but I ask you more this time. You cannot know the answer to this question from some quick search engineing. You cannot know the answer to this from a YouTube video or a 4chan post. You will have to search deeper than that, and it will be harder. Here is the hard reality of finding the truth. You are an addict. You are asleep, and it blinds you to the truth. You think you are free, but your actions are driven by cravings, by thoughts you can't control, by things that feel like needs because you can't deny them, by dreams of what you want to be happening, by an inability to look at the world around and inside of you and analyze what's happening. This is what you must do. You must first quiet the conflict in your head that drives you. The thoughts that scream at you. Food, sex, distraction, distraction. You must realize that these thoughts are not you. They are a result of what is programmed as your biology and social conditioning. You must learn to quiet your mind from these things. At first it will be hard. At first you won't even be able to calm your seemingly conscious thoughts. You may be able to steady your concentration for seconds at a time, but then you will remember that thing someone said that pissed you off, and you'll think about what you want to say to him. And then you'll think about the project you're working on and what to do next. And before you know it, minutes, hours, maybe days have passed while your experience is being dragged around by these thoughts. But with practice, you'll be able to let them go. To be here, to be now. When that happens, and you think your mind is totally silent, that's when you'll really start to be able to hear the crying out of the body. That's when you'll be able to hear your body yell out about its cravings and its needs and its desires, before you would have even been able to consciously recognize them before. It will seem like a great achievement, as though you've leapt and swam down into the depths, the bottom of your subconscious. But it goes deeper. When you can get past this noise, and I promise you that it is only noise, you will see that there is no such thing as quiet. There is no such thing as quiet, because underneath the noise of your mind, underneath the noise of your body, there is a message separate from you, one that you can't turn down, you can't turn off. You can only drown it out with other noise, and that is what you've done. But turn off the noise, and you will see. It is a message that permeates everything. It is the purpose, the meaning, the key to whatever true reality you are capable of experiencing. It is a hard truth, and everything in your mind and body will fight to make sure you don't hear it. Perhaps right now you are running through thoughts calling this out for being bullshit. Is it? Fine. I've already asked you not to take my word for it. Go experiment. Prove it to yourself. Can you logically dismantle the argument? I am telling you, the truth is there. You have only to look and see for yourself. Get to it, OP. How do I quiet all these things and see what's happening? There are many ways. The one that I find works for me: meditation. Get back control of your awareness. Question everything, even your own assumptions. Don't get lost. Don't get distracted. Take your perceptions and mind back. Good luck to you, Anon.
If I got OP right, it does not really matter because the actual information on your surroundings is there. So, still assuming I followed OP correctly, if you render an environment but delete all the lighting, no visual input, the objects within that environment still exist. The state of matter literally cannot be known before it is observed, because it functions like it doesn't exist as anything more than information until it is observed. Technically, touching something you don't see is also an observation.
I think it's best to think of everything outside your consciousness in the most abstract way as just information, like the formless binary data represented in computer memory or on a CD. What really are the objects in a 3D simulated environment beyond the representations on the screen? They're just information, lacking any inherent properties like color, shape, spatial extent, hardness, warmth, texture. Those are forms our minds and senses give the raw data. When you're not looking at or thinking about the moon, it only exists as information. It's not big or small, or gray or round, near or distant. Your mind gives the raw information a form. It's a form that omits useless information. For example, infrared light, microwaves, ultrasound, infrasound, magnetic fields, vacuum energy, quantum and relativistic effects, and presents to you a really simple view of the world that is useful for survival. There may be some mapping between your mental model and the real structure of reality. For example, between the colors red, green, and blue, and certain frequencies of light. But this is not necessarily the case. For example, the color purple does not have a corresponding frequency. It's an artifact of the way the retina and brain processes light. You could think of the relationship between your mental model and the real world as like that between an ATC radar screen and the actual planes in the sky. It's a useful representation, but annotated blinking dots on a 2D screen bear little resemblance to airliners flying through a gravitationally bound sea of air. The world is not visual. That's just our dominant sense. It's no more visual than auditory or olfactory. The closest it seems we can get to the real structure of reality is by abstracting away all our sensory and perceptual biases and using the language of nature/science, mathematics.
Post what you know. Maybe we live in a simulated world that's simpler than the real world. This may mean that no matter how hard we try, we can never use the simulation itself to prove the existence of or escape the simulation. It would always be one step ahead. How many possible simulations could there be that are more complex? An infinite amount. This means that if simulations of our reality exist, we are definitely in at least one right now that we can't ever escape through reasoning or effort alone. Can God create a rock so heavy that even He cannot lift it? Do other sentient entities exist, or is this just all in your head? All three of these propositions are logically the same. Simulation theory, solipsism, atheism versus theism. All impossible to prove yet impossible to deny due to the structure of the propositions themselves. By God, we are in a simulation though, at least I am.
The flaw here is the implicit assumption that human reasoning and effort is made out of the same stuff that the simulation produces. That is, if the simulation is bigger than us, then that means it is producing more reasoning and effort too. It's actually the opposite. It can't produce reasoning or effort, so it has to use what little reserves it has to trick people into performing inferences on its behalf. Those inferences are used to generate the systems that make up the lore of the sim. The recipe works like this. 1. People believe the world has underlying explanations for everything, but doesn't expose them directly. 2. Those people witness problems, and so they perform investigations to find the underlying reasons. 3. The simulation copies the resulting explanations, but alters them just enough so that they cannot be used to make the world a good place. 4. The simulation incorporates the modified explanations into the running world. It all falls apart when people stop believing the world makes sense, though.
Soon, NPC people will be aware of NPCs and will be casually talking about them constantly. The sim is aware of what the outliers perceive and what they talk about, and then it overwhelms them, or discredits them with its own tactics.
I have become aware that we are in a simulation. Let me explain, I was a skeptic my whole life and sort of believed in UFOs, but nothing more than that. But as I grew older, I realized that something ain't right. This went for a few years. Sometimes I investigated the subjects, and sometimes I plain forgot. Well, a couple of years ago, I was trying to remember something that happened to me in 5th grade. And I know it happened. I kinda saw glimpses, but I didn't feel the memory. It's hard to explain, but it's as if I can't really remember my past. I know my family and events that happened, but I can't relate to them at all. It's like I'm living a prefabricated life, and the real ME took control. Then the other day I saw that thread about people acting strange, and it's fucking true. I don't know how to explain it, but it's as if they were actors playing different roles, like best friend, sister, etc. And lately I have met strangers that seem to know me. They look at me like they were a relative or an old friend, and it's freaking me out. Maybe I'm losing it, but I know that someone or something is controlling us. Another thing I have realized is that I can change my reality if I concentrate hard enough, like the movie Dark City. Not like materialize a door, but everything seems to go according to plan in my life. Some would say I'm extremely lucky because everything turns out my way. I don't want to sound pretentious, but I have the feeling that something is protecting me. Anyone know what I mean?
I find strangers that seem to know me all the time. It's fucking weird. Random-ass people will start talking to me as if they knew me and could trust me. I always think it's a ruse to steal shit from me, making it look like we're buddies, then getting shit from my pocket or something. But it's never been the case. It's bizarre, man.
Exactly. Not only that, a new girl started working where I work, and it's just the two of us. Anyway, a lady started talking, and then before she left, she asked me, "Do you have a girlfriend?" I said no. She said, "You will have one, I predict it," and left. The girl that works there was in the back and couldn't hear. Then my best friend meets her and says that he has seen her somewhere else, like he knows her. Then my mother says the same thing to me. Maybe we've all been brainwashed and I'm supposed to be in a relationship with this girl. Then the other day, from out of nowhere, this girl stopped talking like she was mad or something. She would only respond in a monotone voice, like yes or no questions. I didn't want to ask if there was something wrong because I barely know her. So I thought that maybe she had personal problems, so I just let her be quiet. This went on for like 4 days. Then suddenly my best friend goes with me to the store, and we hang there, which almost never happens. The store is owned by my family, I should point out, so it's not uncommon for friends or people to hang out. Well, this went on for 2 hours until my friend said something to her. And this girl, I swear, just snapped out of it and started talking to me like when I first met her, like it was totally normal, and stayed like that for the entire day. I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. It's like some sort of experiment. I don't know.
It may have been real before 2012, but some souls and minds were put into this simulation after 2012. The simulation is not identical to the original, which is responsible for what is called the Mandela effect. Besides small errors or intentional markers, like changes to movies and other popular media, big indicators of the simulation include geographical changes, time sped up, changes to the sun and moon, and changes to anatomy. Geographical and time differences seem to indicate that the simulated world is literally smaller in size than the original. Another indicator is the emergence of the NPC phenomenon. This may be due to, as mentioned, not every soul mind being moved here. What happened to them? Do they still exist in the real world? To me, one of the biggest indicators is the flat Earth theory, which rose to prominence around 2015, again, after 2012. Nobody ever talks about the connection between flat Earth and simulation theory, although they sync perfectly. Think of every video game you've ever played, including large, open-world MMOs. They all take place on a flat, infinite plane. They may even have day, night, and lunar cycles, which are faked by a skybox, the firmament, but are given as proof of a spinning globe. It's a simulation of the original, physical Earth. Why, how were we moved here, and for what purpose? I do not know, and it's fairly apparent that who or whatever is responsible has no intention of telling us.
Essentially, this is the output of putting little think about this snippets into shows, books, and movies that are thought about as, if this is true, then X, but the various snippets conflict, and so the ultimate cope is to assume that some or all of it is a simulation. Unfortunately, some will assume that their active life is the simulation, whereas most will be able to, more or less, put the small thought experiments from media into their correct containers, and use them to help process other conundrums in their minds. This last situation, by the way, is highly useful and exploitable as predictive programming. I've found that I can sometimes often flip that on its head by paying attention to those little bits of throwaway comments and controlled experiences and applying them to the stock market. Greedy people, who are guiding the minds of many millions, the NPCs, can't help but make money on the future they influence, and so can you. If you know some shit's going to happen before it does, you trade your hunch and watch your tax preparer look at you like you don't belong in this world.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.